Welcome back to another episode of Find the Line, presented by Against the Grain Design and Print, where we dive into real stories with real racers, the successes, the hardships, and everything in between, with your co-hosts Logan Cipala and Joe Falde. Produced by Luke Cipala, it all starts right here, right now, on Find the Line.
Yeah, and we can do anything. Mama said it's true, and I put that on everything. Mama told me one day I'ma blow up big and I'ma be a king. And my papa told me it's okay to sit where shit hurts. Don't forget your dreams, cause they'll get you through this so-called life.
Hey, my dirt bike family, welcome back again to the Find the Line pod. Dude, we are so excited tonight. When we had the idea for this podcast, Logan, Luke, and I were just talking about the unbelievably awesome people we meet in this industry, people that love dirt bikes just like us, and we are so excited. Tonight we have a gentleman that not only is dirt biking his passion, it's how he makes a living, and he shares the wealth. If you're anywhere, how far is Bismarck, Logan? What is it?
7 or 8 hours from here. So.
If you're 7 or 8 hours away, you drive there to buy bikes from this guy. If you're racing 7 or 8 hours away, you're probably going to see Full Throttle all over. This is a man that not only sells it, but he lifts it up. He puts it on his shoulders. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 44, Jeremy. Help me out here, Jeremy. How do you say your last name?
Huizenga.
Huizenga. I knew I was going to murder it, Jeremy. I tell you, I'm sorry. I couldn't even make one shot at it. I'm sorry. We're going to go with number 44, Jeremy H.
There you go.
Well, Jeremy, welcome and thank you for coming on and sharing some time with us.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, we were just sitting here green rooming it, and for those our YouTube fans, Luke, I mean, you showed him up. You came with the cookie duster. I mean, Clint Eastwood has entered the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Do you agree, Luke?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm about to go shave mine off.
That's the North Dakota mustache you got there, Jeremy. We're all pretty impressed.
Well, thank you.
Well, Jeremy, you're the owner, you're the operator of Full Throttle in Bismarck, North Dakota. And like I said in the intro, dude, like you can't be within 7-8 hours. And we all notice this stuff. We see Full Throttle. They're helping the Dakota Scramble Series. You're at the Motoclimb event up in Walhalla. I see Jared Anderson. I see Dexter Hohenhaus. I see anybody, the Jelnicks all around. They're coming. They're buying bikes from you. You're supporting. You're helping. How fun is it to see your business's name all over these awesome events?
Oh, it's awesome. You know, it's what I live for is dirt bike and dirt bike events. So it's been a ton of fun.
Well, dude, this is what we wanted to do. Is we wanted to have just interesting people on, and Jeremy, you and I, we're not in high school anymore. We're men, right? And I just want to know, like, where did it start? Was it at a young age that you started in bikes and stuff like that, or what did you get started in?
Yeah, so for me, you know, I grew up in a small town, you know, Class B town. Most of my friends were all into basketball, football, and I don't remember at what age. I remember seeing a kid ride his dirt bike down the ditch and just fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
Got my first dirt bike, I think it was about 8 years old.
Okay.
$75. Took it home in boxes and together, and yeah, kind of the rest was history.
That's awesome. So your dad, not a dirt biker? Were you the first one?
No, he wasn't. He kind of got involved with it because of me.
Okay.
And then he got a bike for himself, and
Nice.
Actually, to rewind farther, he got one first, and I was little. I rode on the front, and then he'd let go of the bars every once in a while. Let me ride.
That's awesome.
Got my own, and yeah, that was the start of it.
Oh man, how fun! I mean, when you're a kid, I mean, everybody had that one friend with the bike, and you just wanted to be that guy with the bike, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I know that's the only reason I had a few friends, Jeremy, was I was lucky enough to have a couple bikes, and I'd get invited over to their house, and they'd be like, hey, bring your bike with. And my one buddy, Corey, I woke up and he was already out riding my bike when I was sleeping in the morning.
Sure.
It's like one of the lasting impressions too is being able to ride on your parents' bike when you're young and grab the handlebars and take control of a big bike. Like I still remember a few of those rides when we were little.
Oh,
pretty awesome.
Memories like that. That's what life's about, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Was this in North Dakota, Jeremy? Did you grow up in
about an hour south of Bismarck?
Okay. All right.
It's a
Nice.
little town, about 1,200 people, I suppose now.
I mean, I feel like North Dakota is the best kept secret in the United States. I mean, the land, I mean, I love coming to North Dakota. It's some of
Yeah.
the most, I mean, Walhalla for us and Hillclimb, it's one of the best events of the year. And when you tell people there's an 800-foot hill in North Dakota, they don't believe it, but they really don't believe it when they drive from Grand Forks there because there's nothing.
Yeah, sure.
There's nothing from Grand Forks there, but what there is unbelievable sunrises and sunsets. You guys have some of the most epic sunrises and sunsets in North Dakota. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great place.
So you're a young man, you got a bike. Were you just recreational? Did you do any racing or were you just riding around with your buds?
I was what they would call a ditch banger, I think. I rode the ditches and did that for I don't know, until I was in high school. I think once I hit high school, by then I had some race bikes.
Okay.
Well, before that, in grade school, I got a really nice. It was a used bike. All my bikes were used, but end up with an RM. They weren't 85s at that time. I don't know if you remember that, but they used to be 80.
Yep.
It was really a nice bike.
Yep. Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, KX 125 somewhere after that, and did a little race.
Okay. Was that RM a metal tank or plastic tank?
No, it's plastic tank. 83.
Okay. See, I had metal tank. That's how old I go back. You knew when you came up short on something, that metal tank. You didn't want to dent that sucker.
Mine had the full floater suspension. I don't know if you remember where they called them full floater suspensions. Yep. But that was it's a pretty sweet ride.
That was cutting edge space shuttle shit back in the day when you had the full floater. Damn, you could go anywhere and do anything with those.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they came without rebound though. Do you remember that? They were very
I didn't even know what rebound was then. Still, honestly, if I'm going to be totally honest, I'm still not quite sure how it works, but I turn the knob every once in a while.
Yeah, if I have a bad ride, I come back and move the clickers just to feel better about myself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
At least make it look like the bike was the problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you started out on a bike. I was really nervous that you were going to say you started out on a thumb throttle and we were going to have to just stop the interview, start and just say thanks for your time and move on, right?
I did have an ATC 90 at one point in my life.
Ooh,
I should have proud of that. It had balloon tires and it was also a pretty sweet ride.
Those are so fun.
Oh yeah, I can't hate on that. I can't. We like to give the thumb throttle guys a little hell every now and then. Got to remind them, got to put them in their place, right?
Absolutely.
So riding now, you said you got your 125. I cut you off. Did you say that you were racing a little bit then?
I did a little racing.
Okay. What was
ahead.
available to you around there? What kind of racing was there?
Our motocross association goes back to. It's one of the longest motocross associations standing currently. Cool. It might be even the longest. North Dakota's had motocross a long, long time. So yeah, there was just some cup around the state. They were, not like today. Now everything's prepped and watered, and I remember going into one. It was in a rodeo ground, and I remember flying through the air, not knowing anything. Well, like where there's a guy a foot away from me, and it was. Bob wire balled up in the turns and stuff. It was a good time.
That's crazy. Wow. I mean, we all have that love and we just blindly go at it every now and then, right? When you're a kid, that's the best part about being a kid, right?
For sure.
It's kind of like racing
did you get into the... Yeah, we lost you there for a second, Logan. Sorry about that. What was that?
I was telling Jeremy it's like racing a Harescramble every now and then where you start out and if you get a bad start, there's just a cloud of dust and you have no idea where you're going, which way to turn, what's in front of you, who's behind you or next to you. And you just pray to God there's nothing there for you to hit.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. So in school, did you work on bikes or did you start getting involved in being doing any sales or what kind of spurred some of that stuff?
So back as early as remember, I was around dirt bikes and there was always a strong interest and love for it.
Right.
And then through high school, I did my own work. on my bikes, enough to keep them going.
Yep.
And I guess I got to about college age, or it was time to make a decision on what to do for life. And my dad wanted me to farm at the time.
Okay.
My mom said, "Do something you enjoy." And it's dirt bikes. So
Awesome. You got a smart mom.
Went to school for 2 years for college to be a mechanic, and worked at a dealership for about 10 years, I guess. And then, took the leap and started my own deal.
Wow. So you just kind of started, did you start up, was it Full Throttle from the beginning?
I started it from ground up.
Wow.
At the time, rented a building, and met the Kawasaki rep at the time. I don't remember how I got his number. That was before the internet was the beast it is today.
Right.
We went out for supper and had some drinks and got along really well with Kawasaki rep. He was a great guy. And that was rented a building, and that was the start of it, I guess.
Wow. So you started out right away, a Kawasaki dealer right off the bat, just selling new Kawasaki's.
Yep. So it was started with Kawasaki. A friend of mine came to help me get it started. He was just going to be a short-term deal. He was just going to work for me just to help me just to get it going and get it off the ground. And he's actually still with me 20 years later.
That's awesome.
It was just two of us at the beginning, and now we've, of course, added employees and stuff over the years. But
right. Oh, how cool.
That guy that you're talking about, was that the one? I saw a picture recently from when you had first started the Cowie shop. And I wish I could remember the context of it, but it was like you and another guy shaking hands. I think it was like, it must have been from one of the first days that you guys opened, and you had like maybe a wall of parts in the background or something. I'm trying to think of what it.
Oh, I think that was a customer, wasn't it? Wasn't that a customer?
Oh, maybe it was a customer.
It was a customer, that picture, not
okay.
too long ago that we put on the internet. Yeah.
Is it when you deal?
The one he's referring to was the first guy that bought a major unit, a new Kawasaki from me, and I just stumbled across that picture and we posted it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a classic picture. I remember that.
It's got to be hard starting a dealership, and you were, 18 years away from a pandemic, right? I mean, that I got to think it's just to start out and just advertise and let people know. I mean, that had to have been just a monumental task, wasn't it? Just to kind of get your name out there and get people coming to you.
It was, a lot of work at the time, long hours. Back then we did everything. I was, I'd be putting a crankshaft in a motorcycle and answering the phone to try to sell a spark plug, and then run up front and try to sell something. So it was kind of a mad scramble, always getting it all done. But lived and learned, I guess.
Right. Have you kept kind of the same people that you've dealt with through Kawasaki through the years, or how has that been, like, maintaining that relationship? It's got to be difficult, kind of maintaining that relationship for so long with the manufacturer, isn't it?
The manufacturers is kind of a changing cycle. They kind of come and go or change positions and stuff. So that's, I don't know, it seems like about a 3, 4, 5 year cycle. Then they change reps usually.
Right.
They kind of purge through them, but.
Right. Is it difficult now? Obviously, we were talking before, and you sell more than Kawasaki now. You have multiple brands that you sell. Is it difficult, like, navigating through the brands, or are they all pretty much on the understanding that, a dealer's got to do what they got to do to survive, or is that tough?
Yeah, it's not too tough, I guess. There's, they all want you to take more product typically, and
Right.
you just kind of have to pick the product that's going to work in your store. And
Right.
Sometimes there's, you butt heads a little bit, they maybe want you to take X and you're more than you maybe want, and you want to take something a little different, maybe. So at times it's a little bit of that, but for the most part, it's easier now than when I started, I think, because it was, going into it so blind. I had no clue what to order. And now after 20 years, you kind of, patterns start to happen and get a little better handle, but you still make mistakes, on ordering the right product.
I feel like when I was making one of my trips out there, you were telling me that, was it the Kawasaki like jet skis that you just like, you were saying something about how you just can't get enough of them to sell throughout the years, or was it another product?
It could have been, every year's different. Like, okay. And it was probably jet skis. 1 year, Kawasaki did some plant changes and stuff, so we really got short on jet skis. And then you order 3 times more, and then the next year it's totally the opposite. They have too many, so it does constantly change. But there's always hot product, and then sometimes it'll go totally soft. But
it must have been what it was, because I remember we were talking about it a little bit, and I was just like shocked for a minute that you're saying you couldn't get your hands on enough jet skis. And the center of North Dakota, I don't picture to be like a real hot jet ski area, but there are a lot of lakes, obviously.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, we do really well with jet skis, even nationally. We've got the river that splits Bismarck, Mandan, and that river again. There's quite a bit of lakes and stuff, so we do fairly well with jet skis.
There's got to be more privately owned lakes in North Dakota than anywhere in North America, too. I mean, when I'm out there hunting, it seems like every farmer owns their own 120-acre lake, right?
Sure.
Has there ever been a time owning your dealership where you're like, man, should I just leave a couple of these crated and put them in the corner? Has there ever been a time where you're like, I just want to tuck a couple of these away for time?
In 2004, when they were going to retire the KX500, I had that thought, and I didn't want to tie. I think they were about $5,000 at that time. I didn't want to tie up $5,000. And then, I don't know if you guys seen the 01 CR500 online selling for like $75,000 right now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to put 20 of them away and kept them.
That's Ken Kaplan, I think, that's selling that. He's a Buell dealer, and I follow him for that. And I was like, I was blown a freaking way when he was posting what the bids were on that. I'm like, oh my! I was like, how many rednecks are trying to take their 500, make it factory, and put it into a crate and try to fool somebody, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, even my KX500 that we got, I can't remember if mine was an 02 or an 04, but when Dad picked it up for me, the thing was like immaculate. The guy had barely ran. I think he still had the OEM tires on it, but all of the graphics were peeled off the plastics, which kind of ruins it. And then what do we do as hill climbers? Just rip it all apart, polish the swing arm, paint the frame. Now I've got it in an aluminum frame and just demolished it. And now at this point, it's like sitting up in a box of parts in my toolbox and scattered over the shop. But it's like, you think about that sometimes too. I'm like, oh my God. Luckily the OEM graphics were gone off it. Otherwise I'd feel real bad.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know what's worse, if a hard enduro guy gets your bike or a hill climber. It's either way, it's screwed, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much.
It's got to be tempting, though. I'm sure there's a few of them where that you see them come in and you're like, ooh, oh, man, I'd just like to put that up on the shelf and let it sit there. That's got to be tempting.
Yeah, that KX500 is the one I always think about.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I remembered at the time when I'm like, oh, they'll be back. I'm like, they ain't gonna cancel that. Nope, they're gone. No more. I still can't believe that they were selling, decent numbers of them and then they just stopped. I couldn't believe it. I still can't.
Yeah.
I guess that's just how you make an icon, though, right? Is just take it away.
Sure.
Pretty much, yeah.
Has it been ridiculous, like with the resurgent of two strokes? Like, has it brought like a different customer to you? The two strokes come back, or
we do a ton of two strokes, and I love two strokes. That's all what I've always ridden. I've never, to this day, owned a 4-stroke dirt bike. They've all been two strokes.
Wow.
And then with KTM, they're and Beta, both of them companies are pretty involved in the two-stroke world. There's the rumors of Cowie coming back with something two-stroke. So yeah, we do really, really well with two-stroke bikes.
That's awesome. That was, we can go back more into how your company got built up, but when we were sitting thinking about you and what your life's like, the one thing I was wondering is, for most of us, our motorcycles are our release. That's how we I'm a tile guy. Logan's an engineer. Luke's got 5 full-time jobs. Like when we get on our bike, that's how we get away from work and we kind of relax. Is it hard owning and being in that business when yet you are still a bike guy? Can you ever kind of just go on your bike and have fun, or are you always at work?
No, I for sure get away and have fun. We get away and can ride. A lot of times you run into customers or whatever, and they need a little something, but that's usually not a big deal.
I gotta say that's an understatement, because I can't imagine you ever get to go ride without somebody saying, "Hey, I need another 10 millimeter bolt when you get back to the shop. You want to mail that out to me?" Or hell, even when we were at the race, I saw Joseph Allnut, who owns Logo Display Solutions. I'm like, "Joseph, I'm sorry to talk shop at work, but can I get 5 minutes?" "No, that's fine. Go ahead." And I had to talk to him about something about work. It just feels so bad because we all work so hard to get away. And I got to imagine it's just nonstop for you every time you're out.
Yeah, it can be, but most people are super cool about it, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, I hope for you take the advantage of whenever they're talking about work, it's like, oh, that diesel in the camper just went to write-off. Then I'm at work right now, right?
Absolutely. We'll have a nice office with you.
Yeah, exactly. You got to take advantage when you can, Jeremy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you got the coolest backdrop probably that we've had on yet. What do you got sitting behind you there, Jeremy?
That is a 2025 300XCW factory edition.
Ooh, yeah, that you kind of between the mustache and the background, like you had all of our attentions. That is very nice. One of your favorite bikes, or how does it rank?
It is my absolute favorite bike. It's the best bike I've ever had. I got a kick out of your guys' talk with Nate last night when I was listening to the podcast, and it's just to have round tires on it and just ride it, and you don't need these fancy bikes. And I lived that life. My kids, I about abused them with that. They would want new suspension, and I'd say, ride what you got. If you want to go faster, turn the throttle. And tires are going black and round. That's what they got to run for tires, as long as they're black and round. And looking back, I just never gave them probably what I should have. And so now I'm kind of a hypocrite, because at my age now I'm trying to enjoy some of this stuff. And
hell yeah.
Now I got 8-kit suspension and a tractor shock, and can't ride anywhere unless I have a fresh gummy on the rear. So
I thought I noticed some A-kit on there.
We're vet riders. We're the people that have been supporting your business. Now you get to be one. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can really appreciate the factory edition that has some hard enduro love scratches on it too. I really like that. It's getting its use.
Yeah, no, it's been a great bike. It's probably my all-time favorite at this point.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I got my 300 TPI from you a couple of years ago, and I had to do a little cleanup work to get it to run real good out of the box. Some of those TPIs were just weird. And then my dad obviously just got the updated model of that. And every time I ride his, I'm like so tempted and pulling myself back. I'm like, I don't need a new 300. I don't need a new 300, but they are freaking sweet. They're so clean and smooth running compared to like even what mine is. It's unbelievable how the technology that they've been able to put into these new 2-strokes.
Yeah, they are impressive for sure.
Have you seen like with your shop and the bikes coming in? I mean, to me, and this is probably the wrong opinion, but I mean, maybe because I'm so old, but bikes just seem so much more dependable now. Like, is there a lot more just maintenance things coming through your shop instead of like implosions? Or what do you see like with your shop? How does that work?
Yeah. We do a ton of fork seals. It is more of that. We still do some motors, but even the motors, a lot of time they're self-inflicted. The guy didn't prep his air filter, didn't oil it or something, and sucks dirt through it.
It's talking to you, Logan.
Yeah.
You guys forget, to oil it at all, or don't get it in there right. So we do some motor builds.
Have you ever done one where someone forgot to put the air filter on, Jeremy?
We have.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
We have done that.
That was a low moment in Logan's history, Jeremy, with and it's fitting it was on a Yamaha, of course,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
they can't handle a speck of sand, and then he forgets
Sure.
to put the filter on and goes out and bangs around on it, right?
Well, I had a little bit of an excuse at least. So to fill it in, I had a YZ250 and I was going to college at the time. So I don't know why. I must have been doing some routine maintenance on my 250 and then took it apart, took the air filter out to clean it. And then I'm sure I had to go back to school and was out of money. So I didn't have any money to go and ride the indoor track during the winter. And then it came time for the first Hillclimb of the year, and it was down in kind of near Omaha, Nebraska. So we'd go and play ride the day before at the grounds. And the whole day, my bike just was like kind of doggy on the bottom end. I didn't know what was going on. And then we started riding some trails, and my throttle was like kind of stuck half open for a little bit, and then it cleaned out. Like I didn't know. I was like, this is super weird. And then we decided to finish the day off with a sand track moto.
Oh, no.
And a few laps later, my bike's just not running at all. And I go to kick it over, and there's like no compression. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And we go back to the van, and I go and pull the seat bolts out, lift the seat up, and slide it off. Just the air filter cage rattling around in the airbox.
Oh, no.
And the filter screw got sucked into the carb, and that's what was holding my throttle half open. I'd pay money if somebody could have got a picture of my face when I saw it. Took the seat off.
There was something in the air that weekend, Jeremy, because to start it off, we were going to go out riding, and I had a brand new helmet, and I had it hanging on my handlebars, and I was filling up my bike with gas. And the stand tipped over and the gas can fell, and I filled my brand new helmet full of fuel, just plump full. And so I smelled, I was higher than a draft ass riding that day. That's just how it was. But then that happened with Logan. I was like, man, sometimes there's just a black cloud over you.
Yeah, no kidding.
But with bikes and your shop, you do a lot of service work with your bikes. You'd say, is that a mainstay of your business, or how much of your business is actually working on stuff?
Yeah, we do quite a bit. We got 3 full-time mechanics. So yeah, we do quite a bit of service. And it's not all just dirt bikes. We do side-by-sides and ATVs and jet skis and all that too.
You're right in Bismarck, and you got an awesome location for when we're traveling through. Many times we've stopped in and stopped out. It's very easy to stop by and say hi. And what is the most that you sell? Is it bikes, side-by-sides, jet skis? I mean, is there...
Dirt bikes, by far, dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes. Wow, that's awesome.
I got 2 kids that both raced since the time they were, 3 years old, I suppose. Cool. And my oldest doesn't race anymore, but my youngest still races. And then me and my girlfriend both ride.
Cool.
So yeah,
man,
it's just that's the people I end up hanging out with is all dirt bike people. So it just kind of naturally happened.
Awesome.
So this is a perfect segue now that you mentioned your kids. So I know a little bit of them. Obviously, Harris more. I haven't been around Hunter as much, but they both, from what I understand and from what I've seen personally with Harris, were pretty damn fast for a long time. And I'm really curious on their background. And like you said, they started racing at 3, but just to hear what they did when they were young and how they came up through the ranks too a little bit.
Just got them as soon as they could walk, or shortly after they could walk. We got them on dirt bikes right away, and they both loved it. They were probably each other's biggest competition. Like they wanted to beat each other more than anyone else on the track, and so they were just constantly pushing each other and battling for the wins always. And then grew up their same age as one of the other local riders I help, Ryan Peters. He's ridiculous fast as well. And so they have a track in Mandan behind their house, and they would have sleepovers and hang out and spend a lot of weekends out at the place out there with the dirt bike track there. And so they had the opportunity to ride a bunch, and that was for 10 years we probably hit every motocross race in the state just about.
Awesome. Nice. Oh man, how fun.
And that Mandan one, that's part of the NDMA series now, right?
It is.
Okay,
Yep,
that's what I thought.
It's an awesome track.
It looks cool.
I don't ever race any moto, but as far as a spectator, it's my favorite because you sit up on the hill and it's all pretty much natural terrain. You know, there's some man-made stuff in there for sure yet, but so you can see about the whole track. It's a killer motocross track, and it's big. There's big natural jumps, and there's some really cool track, and it's right in the owner's backyard, and their whole family are just a dirt bike. I don't know if they go to Christmas without riding dirt bikes. I mean, they're the dad, the boys, the uncle, they're all enthusiasts. So they anyway. So yeah, that's kind of part of how my kids got going between trying to pass each other and trying to duke it out with the Peters kids. That's kind of made them the riders they are today.
Oh, that's fun. So fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
What did they ride? Have they kind of rode a little bit of everything, or what brands have they been riding on?
Well, growing up is primarily Cowie because I'm trying to think in 2012, I was Kawasaki only, and I think 2012 is when I added KTM.
Okay.
So they're always on Cowies, Cowies 65s. In the 50s, I had some oddball little bikes at that time, and then once they hit 65s, they're on Cowies.
Okay.
And then in 2012, my youngest was on 85s. I think my oldest was on the big bikes. So I think he started riding a SX 150. Two-stroke was his first, full-size race bike.
Cool.
And then Harris, I think, got a SX 150 for his, and then it progressed into four-strokes. And then after that, it started. They both did some KTMs, mostly KTMs, Kawasaki. At the time I picked up a Husqvarna and the other ones. I'm trying to remember when Harris stopped racing, Hunter stopped racing. Hunter had a pretty bad crash, messed his back up a little bit. He was just kind of the age where I think he was losing a little interest in addition to that. But it was a pretty bad crash and kind of had to step away from it. From the racing, and Harris has been on different bikes. Always something, of course, from the store, but it's been Cowies, KTMs, Huskies.
I've never met either one of your sons, but it sounds like Hunter's just a few years away to come to Hillclimb. Right, because we are made for people like your son, right?
Yes.
It's like, guess what? You can have a beer, right? You can have a steak. You can eat what you want. You can go fast for about 8 to 12 seconds. You might get a huge check, and then you can just go on. You don't have to do anything else. It's awesome.
I think he would be good at it. He's got the right personality because he just hits everything like full blown with a hammer. It's just as hard as he can.
Perfect. Perfect.
Right. You'd have the right style for it for sure.
Yeah, I'd say let's come to Walhalla, Hunter. We'll find you a bike. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, for sure.
Was it fun just like being with the Peters families and just kind of your kids, their kids? That's just so fun, isn't it? As a dad, having your kids racing, and you got these common goals that you're trying to achieve, and there's moments that are frustrating, but you got the heaven and the hell and everything. I mean, it's just like that's just something special, isn't it?
It was. I think it was a great for all of us. It was great for the business, being at all these races, and they had a ton of fun. And, a lot of the North Dakota races have become a 2-day event.
Okay.
So we go and camp out, get there Friday night, camp out Friday night, Saturday night. And, they can run around, ride their bikes with their buddies and stuff. And absolutely, it was a good time for sure.
So hill climbing, when you're a kid, it's how big of a dirt jump can you build for your bicycle and not have the adults come wreck it? Is there stuff like that in North Dakota moto as well? Or when your little kids are out there on a bicycle, you see the shovel disappear from the pit, you go looking for them, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was a lot of that same atmosphere for sure.
That was the best as a kid, is trying to get away with it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Or talking your buddy into hitting it. That was the real fun time, right?
Sure.
Have your sons, have they been involved at all in the business part, or do they work for the dealership at all, or has it just been you, or how's that been working?
My youngest Harris does. Hunter
Okay.
Hunter is farming and ranching with his grandpa.
Cool.
And Harris is at the store every day for sure.
Nice. That's awesome. You got a little bit of both. You got one out there feeding America and the other one feeding some horsepower then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Harris, he's still racing, you said?
Harris still is racing. Yeah.
Moto, or what disciplines is he racing? Moto? Okay.
He'll do a Harescramble every once in a while. Maybe once a year, once every other year, he'll show up.
Okay.
But he's more into moto.
Are you still allowed to go with them, or is it now you don't want Dad there? How does that work?
Yeah, it's hard for both of us to get away, but sometimes he lets me tag along and show up. He's going to try to do pro day at Millville this year, so I'm going to try to tag along for that deal.
Oh, very cool. Logan, you better tell him what's going on that weekend.
Yeah, oh, it's perfect. Yeah, you guys both have to come down because the day after Pro Day at Millville is our local Hillclimb at Bay City. So if you're going to be in town, yeah.
And
then he can come and race some of that because he's done done Brickman once or twice, right?
Yeah, he's done it at least
maybe
twice.
More than that.
I think he's done Brickman.
I thought so. Yeah. So you can come and do Bay City and try a new one if he's feeling up for it the day after.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
These are the ones where Motoclimb is going to be at Bay City, and the 450 stock class, no extensions. So you've already got a bike for it. You can ride 2 strokes, 4 strokes. It's just a stock class. But it's going to be really fun this year because there's 5 French riders from France coming, and they're competing at the Brick Mine the week before and at Bay City. And it's going to be some pretty awesome competition. So it'll be fun to see your son come in there and whoop up on some Frenchies.
Heck yeah.
And Bay City is only what, Logan, 45 minutes?
Yeah, like 45, 50 minutes probably from Millville.
Oh, so, sure.
Just not too far.
We happen to know a couple club members. We know a spot. We got a spot for the camper already.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
VIP.
There you
go. Now, the best part was when I first met you, Jeremy, I bought my 300 from you, and I went there, and customary from Wisconsin, we can't leave out of state without carrying cheese curds. So I had to give you a bag of cheese curds when I bought the bike, and instantly that wasn't good enough because you're from North Dakota. You had to institute a trade, and I got some venison sausage, and you got some cheese curds, and I'm like, I have found where I'm going to buy my bikes when they're not going to let me leave without having some venison sausage as a trade for some cheese curds. I got to say, I got the better part of the deal there. Thank you. That was some awesome venison sausage.
I thought that was a pretty good win-win right there.
Yeah, it was epic. My buddy's like, you went in there and got a bike and you ended up coming out with some sausage? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, damn it, you dirt bike guys got to figure it out, don't you? I'm like, dude, I just, something about this crowd. We just know what we're doing. He's like, this is amazing. He couldn't believe it.
Let's go.
Well, I got to tell you, like we said in the beginning, it's just been neat to see what an impact you've had on obviously the moto community and the Hillclimb community, everything with bikes. Has it been even more than that now? Like, because we don't get to see, is there like a side-by-side culture in North Dakota from you guys too, or how has that been going?
We do a lot of side-by-sides, especially now. Kawasaki just came out with a really, really nice side-by-side. It has air conditioning and heat, and it's just been fantastic. So we do a lot of them.
Okay.
But it's, that's more of my job, right? More of my business. It's not my, dirt bikes are just still what I want to run around and do on the weekends and, go to hill climbs or motocross races or Harescrambles.
Right.
I'd be doing all that stuff if I had a tiling business. I'd be doing that doing the same thing, right? So that's the stuff that I'm always going to chase and promote.
Right. I mean, it's easy when you're so passionate about it and have been your whole life. It's probably easy to talk shop. It's like it's probably hard to force yourself into selling them damn thumb throttles. If you don't have to, you don't. That's how it goes.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to sell a dirt bike for sure.
Well, that's awesome. Well, boys, I think maybe now's a good time. Maybe we do a little sponsor break. I got to hit the can. I think when we come back, we got to find out from this man that's been in this industry, where's a good spot to go ride? Because I happen to follow a little bit on Instagram, and I think that Jeremy, maybe give us a couple secret spots where they've been out riding, because I've seen some pretty epic pictures.
Yeah, I'd give some suggestions for sure.
That'd be awesome. That's what we call a teaser, Jeremy. They're gonna listen to these sponsors. So we're gonna take a quick break here, and we'll come back. We're gonna find some secret spots.
Against the Grain Design and Print is proud to announce its partnership with Find the Line. Against the Grain works with clients to build their business and racing goals through the design and production of premium stickers and decals. We offer one-of-a-kind subscriptions for a flat monthly fee that can save you hundreds of dollars. Custom mailers, white label printing, motocross graphics, and anything else you can think of, we have you covered. It's time to print your passion. Visit atgdesign.co or email sales@atgdesign.co.
Hey there, Find the Line listeners. We will always be looking for partnerships for Find the Line. Please email findthelinepod@gmail.com to see how we can work together to grow your brand. Once again, that's findthelinepod@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to it.
All right, man, I got to tell you, ATG Design, woo! Some sick stuff. My buddy Jason Northrup got an AF 500. Luke, that set was killer. How was that to print?
Yeah, it was definitely a unique design. There's some checkerboard pattern in the number plate backgrounds and Roadrunner action on there, and yeah, it was definitely a unique looking bike for sure.
The only reason I didn't know it wasn't Jason's right away is there wasn't any like Japanese anime, or he didn't have to explain something from it, because he's a very intelligent man with a very unique humor. And I thought, I get everything on there. It was interesting.
And there's just nothing cooler than a clean CR with some Roadrunner graphics. I don't know. It's tough to beat. It's almost like a cool Cowie with some Chevy truck graphics, It's just iconic.
Now we're talking. We're sitting here talking with Jeremy, and I'm like, I know I met him through Logan. Logan, how the hell did you get to know Jeremy? We never got the origin story there, because that's how I got to know Jeremy, was through you. But how did you get to know Jeremy?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of knowing and hearing about him just through some of the North Dakota hill climbs, and I had seen always the fender stickers of the new bikes at some of those hill climbs with the Full Throttle Motorsports. I knew of Full Throttle, and then one winter I got into snow biking a little bit, which is where I first saw and heard of his kid Harris. So I was watching some of the ISOC series, which is when Harris was kind of doing all that. Or I think he was doing the full series at the time. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but he was absolutely ripping. The first one that I ever watched was at Duluth, and I'm pretty sure he got on the podium or maybe won a moto or something like that. So it's kind of yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, so I'd kind of seen him around there a little bit, and then I was working with another dealership, and then Kirk Mueller, we put a snow bike kit on my Hillclimb bike to try to do the X Games qualifier and make it up into there, which is kind of the time that we were doing the snow Hillclimb at the X Games. And I remember training all winter, going up to the ERX as often as I could, and like I'm feeling pretty good, and yeah, maybe I'll be on the bubble to qualify for X Games. And then closer and closer to the actual race at ERX, more of the fast guys start showing up. And I remember one night I go up there after work and I see Harris's bike roll out of the trailer. I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm really excited to see this guy and kind of see how I stack up. And he got on his 450, and I've never even pushed a 125 as hard as he was riding his bike that night. And I'm like, oh shit, I've got some serious work to do in the next 2 practice nights. I have never seen somebody punish a 450 on a motocross track like that in my life. It was like 3rd, 4th gear, wide open into these corners and just smashing corners, snow flying 25 feet outside the berm, just rev limiter through the whole corner. And I'm like, I should probably just load up and go home and just call her a day after seeing that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was crazy. And then a little bit later on that winter, I was looking for a new 450 because there was some threat of contingency. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember Jeremy and Harris. So I think I called, maybe talked to our local dealership to see if they had anything. And then ended up messaging Jeremy, actually, while they were at X Games, of course, too. So like, yeah, let me get home. And then I was the guy messaging him on vacation.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You get it from your dad. That's how that works, Logan. The apple don't far fall off the teacher's desk. That's how that goes, Logan.
Yeah, it was unintentional, but it was how it worked out. So it was kind of funny that way, too. And then he ended up just offering out to, hey, put my name down on your bike and I'll help you out on give you a sweet deal on a factory edition. And that's how I got what my current bike is, a 550. So that thing's lived a few lives. It started out as my Husqvarna 450, and then it turned into a gas 450, and now it's a gas 550. And I'm still right. I've got like 30 or 40 hours on it, and I've never done anything but hill climb it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's just been an incredible bike, and we've owned a bunch on it. So that was 5 years ago now that he sold me the first bike. So it's been, time has absolutely flown by, but it's kind of a cool origin story of how we got to know each other. And then his involvement in Hillclimb has obviously skyrocketed with everything that Eagle Ridge does, and then getting into the Dakota Scramble series and the Harescrambles. And I haven't raced in an actual Dakota one yet, but raced one of their dual sanctioned events last year. So like we said earlier, it's just been cool to see Full Throttle just infiltrate the off-road and hill climb or motoclimb community throughout North Dakota and breaching into Minnesota. And I'm trying to do my best to make it a nationwide takeover however I can.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's been pretty fun.
He does a great job of promoting. It's great with sharing my stuff on Instagram and appreciate all that he does back.
Yeah, it's been an absolute huge part of my program the past 5 years too, because I had a good deal with the dealership for a little while, and then they lost most of all of their European sale or bikes, so they were mostly just Yamaha and Honda. And I was a Yamaha guy for a while, tried a hill climbing, and we just could not gel. So I had one Husqvarna at the time, and then I went full Husky or full KTM after that, because that one bike was so awesome, and then just transferred over. And then I'm like buying all these bikes without any help from a dealership, tried to get a hold of a couple local ones here, and they didn't really have any interest. And luckily you offered up, and now it's been sweet. And you've been helping out my motorcycle addiction, as I like to say it. And I don't know how many bikes I've taken home from there now, but it's quite a few.
Yeah, that's been good.
Even promoted your dad. We said, what's Todd? Is he on his third Full Throttle purchase?
Yeah, he is. So we're doing all we can to keep Jeremy selling bikes and helping his quantities out.
Yeah, for sure. You appreciate it.
What was it like in that snow bike life, Jeremy? That's got to be something else, huh?
Yeah, it was something else. It was a ton of fun, but it was just a lot more of everything than dirt bikes. Dirt bikes, like I said, to practice dirt bikes. Well, for a while, we even had a little track in the backyard. 10 minutes away, the Bismarck track is about 15, 20 minutes away, manned end track. Well, for snow bikes, ERX was really the only place they'd practice. So it was, I think ERX is about 6 hours, 6 hours, a hotel room. I think it was $100 a day to practice. It was just so much more of everything, but it was super cool. It was super fun. It was kind of a small niche deal, but to be at the top of a race was, to have my kid be at the top of the class. Right. That was cool.
That's awesome. And I followed it a little bit when Logan was involved, and when it was at X Games, obviously you have to follow it. But I have lost touch. It's not part of X Games anymore, correct?
Yeah, it really kind of fell apart a little bit. It fell out of the X Games, and that was the biggest draw for it. I think, as far as everyone, that was the highlight of it. And then I think it just got down to too few in numbers. And then, when you're racing the same 10 guys, and then all of a sudden you're racing the same 8 guys, and I think it just kind of fell apart a little bit. The last one we did, that was right when COVID was turning into a deal. We drove all the way to Michigan I think he did one round of practice and they canceled the whole event. Wow. So we literally drove 24 hours, practiced, and then I think after that year we were just like, wow, we just kind of pulled the plug on it. It just got to be too much. Mm-hmm. But it was great. It was fun. Riding them things is an absolute blast. If anyone's ever rode one, they're probably, I think it's funner than a dirt bike, honestly. If the snow's right, the sun's out, they are absolute blast in the mountains. But it's just so much more everything to do it. But they're about the funnest thing you'll ever do.
Yeah, when I started racing them, I have never been as broke in my life as I was when I was trying to race them and I didn't have to pay for the kit, and I was using my Hillclimb bike. So it was like I had next to nothing invested compared to what some of these guys were. But for me, it was a couple hours. It was about a 2-hour drive or hour and a half drive up TRX twice a week. I'd go to work. Work was luckily on the way, not out of the way. Go up there, and then $100 every night. So from whatever it was, probably 4:30, almost 5 by the time I get there until 8 or 8:30, $100 a pop. So $200 a week, and then dumping in MR Pro 6 and U4 into my bike to do, 15, 20 minute motos all night. It was unbelievable. But I will say there is nothing like going in and like railing some corners on those things, because you can do whatever you want. Like when Jeremy was saying, when the snow's good, it's unbelievable how fun they are, and you can just plow into these corners. And that part I will absolutely never forget. It was so much fun riding them, and jumping them was a different story to get used to. They handle funky, but they're pretty sweet outside of that. Like I never got to ride them in the mountains, but I know you guys have done a good amount of that, and that looks like a good time too.
Yeah. Fun.
What kind of kits did you guys run, Jeremy? Was it something that you sold, or what?
Yeah, we sold the timber sled. Like when we started, it was timber sled. It was their own little company, and then I don't know how much you follow it, but Polaris bought that company.
Okay.
And we were selling Polaris and Yeti. Yeti was also a little higher end. They were carbon fiber. So we were selling two different brands. Polaris actually just pulled the plug on them now. They're not going to build them anymore.
Really? Wow.
Yeti's been kind of in and out of it. They've changed ownership hands and stuff. So it's kind of it's kind of gone away a little bit, I guess.
I wonder because it was just thriving for that short amount of time, but what do you think the reason is that they're pulling away? Is it because it seems like everybody I talked to that had one and rode it said it was freaking unbelievable, but they all just wanted the power of the snowmobile. Was it the bike's limitations? Is that where some of it?
A little bit of it. I think they're a little, maybe a little harder to keep going, and there's just a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. To ride them in the mountains, you should have an Avi pack, no different than a snowmobile, but it's just it's a little more expensive to get into all that, with the travel and stuff. So right. I think the dirt bikes and other things like that are. It's kind of gone the way as a snowmobile. The snowmobile market's doing the same thing. So Arctic Cat snowmobiles ain't a thing anymore. Arctic Cat's done. And I think every year the snowmobile market shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. It's a big enough market where they'll still build snowmobiles, but the snow bike was such a sliver of that. You shrink a sliver and it kind of just diminishes to nothing. But they never get the opportunity, and there's still a ton of good used kits. They're actually to the point where they're affordable. I've got two super nice used ones. I think I got them priced at about $6-7 and they're ready to go.
Wow!
So you can, if anyone ever wanted to try it, it's actually to the point now where you can get into them pretty reasonable.
Very cool.
They're just hard on stuff too. I know Kirk has seen a lot of destruction from them, but when I was at Junior Shop one day, this is way, way long ago, right when they were starting to get popular, he picked up a set of forks off the ground, and like 2 inches above the lugs, both of them the forks were snapped clean off, and you could see the springs in them because some guy hit a culvert with them. But like and that's like pretty common, I think, to see stuff like the failures like that. And I know with my kit, like every shaft going through that thing was all bent up from the jumps, and the the shocks just, I mean, everything, the bikes and the kids just took a beating, especially when we were racing them and jumping them. But
racing them thrashed them pretty hard. You know, for your average mountain guys, they'll go a long time without busting stuff up. You know, the mountains are so different. Well, one, you ain't jumping like the race guys do. And even if you do jump, you're typically landing in 4 or 5 foot of powder, you know, so they don't get beat up as bad, you know, in the mountain riding. But yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting, just like what X Games and what they've kind of pushed forward, and they've kind of had control of some things by what they highlight, because when they're going to put something at X Games, everybody wants to be a part of it, you know? I thought, oh, this is something. With these snow bikes, I was like, man, I'm just kind of blown away that it didn't take off and get more popular. It kind of blows me away that it's not still rising.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened with the X Games. Like when we were at the X Games, you know, it drew a crowd, you know, compared to, you know, the rest of it, I think, has been done for so long, you know, the half pipe. And that was cool watching that stuff too. But the snow bikes were such a different thing. Boy, when the motors lit up, the whole crowd come, and it really drew a crowd. I don't know what it did on, you know, for TV numbers, but at the actual event, it was a big deal. So I'm not sure what happened with the relationship between the snow bikes and the event. But
when we were out there, the best one was the adaptive snow bike, and it was like Paul Thacker and Doug Henry, and those guys were just hauling out there, and they were telling Paul that he couldn't hit certain jumps, and he's like, I'm gonna hit whatever I want to hit. I was like, they're just fearless. That was cool.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, anytime, like, just with our experience at X Games too, anytime a motor fired up out there, and just snowmobile, snow bike, our open bikes especially, it was like moss to a flame, you know, just everyone they were on it right away, because it was just so different and exciting compared to some of the ski and snowboard stuff. I mean, different types of racing, but it seemed like, I guess from an outsider's perspective, that once X Games pulled out, it seems like, I think they kind of canceled the motorsports. I don't know if it was because or along with the COVID stuff. And then that just seemed to take the wind out of the sails for the snow bike racing itself. Cause it was like, I think when it was in there, a lot of people looked like, I mean, they had a way to get into X Games with like a little bit smaller sport, you know, and it was just it was so new that everyone was kind of figuring it out, and it made it easier for someone to get into it maybe. But it was growing, and then it's like X Games just seemed like it just took all the wind out of the sails once they pulled the plug on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
You're exactly right, though, about firing those motors up. When Logan got to go to the X Games the first time, my wife and I are like, we are not missing this. We flew out just to be in the crowd and watched, and we didn't have pit passes or nothing. We were just part of the crowd. And I remember they were down there, and all the lines for the buses to leave Buttermilk, they were just solid people. And there wasn't anybody up there, and they started firing those bikes up. And my wife and I looked, and it was like they said there was signs for free beer. I mean, it was just an ocean of people running from the bus lines up the hill, and they just packed that whole bowl down there. And it's just something about and that snow and the sound of those big twins and everything. It was just so freaking cool, man. That was one hell of an experience there. Just watching Logan that first time was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Did you guys ever sell? Were you a dealership for Timber Sled then before they went to Polaris, or okay?
Yeah, we were when they were Timber Sled, and then when they went to Polaris, we still were. We actually still technically are.
Oh, okay, all right.
We have a couple new kits left.
Okay.
They build new ones, but yeah, we can still get parts and accessories, and we do a lot of service on them things over the winter. You know, not having a snowmobile line, we do builds. We've even built some stuff where guys want a different kit, but they buy the bike. You know, we do the heated hand warmers, and there's engine blankets, and the builds on them things can get pretty complicated, and so we do quite a few of them during the winter.
Has there ever been a snow bike kit on a Suzuki? Go ahead, I dare you.
There has. We had a fit kit one time, and I think we eventually sold that fit kit. So there's at least one.
No way am I putting a kickstart frickin' 4-stroke on a damn snow bike and going to 2 degrees.
way.
To hell with that.
No way.
My girlfriend rode a 2012 KX 450 that was kickstart, and she made it work. But,
that would be rough.
There isn't anything worse to have a kickstart than a snow bike, because if the mountain's on the wrong side, you can't get your foot down to do the kicking.
Jeremy, thank God they didn't have snow bike kits back when they made that damn 426 Yamaha. That would have been hell, because it was hard enough to kickstart that thing in the summer. I couldn't imagine in the winter trying to kickstart one of those old mules.
Yeah, we had one of them as a used bike, and we'd ride it out and put it in the front of the building. And you had to say a little prayer that bike had a personality. If it wasn't in the mood, just forget it. Like, you talk to it a little bit and talk nice and pray to baby Jesus and give her your best. And there was days I think light up and pop off, and there was days not today. You might as well just push me around the building. I am not starting today. Forget it.
That was like a sales technique. There are people on the fence about buying used or new. You can be like, well, try this new Cowie or KTM, or hey, take that 426 and see what you think about that used unit. Right?
I remember just people coming to look at it, and I was like, oh boy, is it going to start or not? At about 50-50 on it. Half time it'd start right up, and the next time if it wasn't in the mood to be rode, it wasn't going to happen that day.
I believe that's even the same on the 2025 Yamahas too, but I don't know. I'm just saying.
Maybe that's why I was a 2-stroke guy for so long, because that was the first 4-stroke I ever rode, or what was one of those turds. So
God, that was.
Maybe that's what took to 4 strokes. Maybe that's why I've always stayed with 2.
I owned one and I thought it was awesome until I got a different bike, and then I was like, nope, that thing sucked.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, you probably haven't heard this story, and most of the people listening maybe have, but one of our neighbors that we grew up hill climbing with bought one brand new from a dealership up here and brought it home and went to go and ride it. And he could not get it started and got so pissed off. This thing, it was the same day it came off the showroom floor. He got so mad, he threw it on the ground on his track behind his house and walked back to the house and left it there all night. It's my favorite 426 story ever.
I feel like everybody has a story like that owned one, right?
Probably.
Oh, God. Before the break, we were talking, and the riding that you do, I've seen some pictures. You guys have been to some just awesome locations in your state and out of state. And I know that you've done a lot of different stuff, but right now, like, what kind of riding interests you personally, Jeremy? I mean, is it you just free riding, or what kind of things do you like doing right now?
Yeah, I love like hard enduro style riding, just going, I don't mean like competing in a hard enduro race, but just that kind of style, Moab or St. George, Utah. Idaho is phenomenal. Idaho is probably my favorite.
Awesome.
We have some gnarly trails where it's just a challenge to try to make it up the trail and hopefully keep your feet on the pegs half the time, or as much as you can.
Or not at the bottom of the river.
Yeah, right.
Right, Luke? You don't ever want to see the bottom side of the skid plate in the river. Is that what you're trying to avoid?
Yep.
Yeah, that's never good.
That was Luke's experience in Idaho, Jeremy, is that it was one of those side quests in a game where it was, do you take this sketchy bridge or do you try this? Luke, why don't you tell the story? What happened with your experience in Idaho?
Well, I don't know where Dad and Logan went on some like kind of cat trail around the stream, and the stream didn't look that deep, but I also forgot I'm in Idaho and the water's like crystal clear, so it looked like I could see the bottom. It was like 6 inches, maybe a foot deep. And then I went in it way deeper, hit a rock, and I didn't see the rock, and that kind of stopped me. And then the current, I felt like it just picked up my bike, turned it sideways. And next thing I know, I'm in the water and I was scared for a little bit. And then I saw Logan come help rescue. When you get your boots filled up with water and stuff, you start to feel pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I bet.
The bike was laying on the side, and there was about this much of the opposite side of the handlebar hanging out of the water still.
Oh, she's wet.
Yeah.
She's wet. Oh,
yeah.
man. Is there a certain... What was that,
Were
Jeremy?
you-
Cut out again.
Oh, sorry.
Was Joel with on that trip?
No, I had to work. Dang it. No, I all I heard for about 3 weeks after it was Todd saying that it was one of the highlights of his life and that he had to go back and do it again. And this was probably 3 years ago, I suppose now, Logan, hasn't it been? And we still haven't been back.
Yeah, me and Logan were talking about it. Idaho's probably my favorite of all the places I've been.
Yeah. This was Gold Creek Lodge area, and it's
that's where we went
beautiful.
to.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's super cool.
One of my goals ever since we went there was to get back out there, and I've failed every year miserably. So
Yeah.
keep my fingers crossed. This year's the year. We'll see.
Yeah.
Man. The pictures that you guys took, I mean, it was just unbelievable. It was the middle of summer. I think it was around July, wasn't it, when you guys were there?
Yep.
And you guys were in sweatshirts, and it looked like it was about 40 degrees at the top of that pass. I mean, it just looked like the most epic summer riding conditions you could find.
Yeah, it was great when we went. Still a little bit of snow because they had apparently a pretty aggressive winter. So we were trying to do one of the major trails, which I think Jeremy made it to the top. It's called Pack Saddle Mountain. It's a big one and super gnarly. And they said there was still snow up there. We were climbing in. We started getting into the snow line that day.
Sure.
But you guys rode that all the way to the top, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We've done it twice now. We did it. Me and Amy, just two of us did it, and then we went back out with a big group. Last summer, I think we did it and did it again.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm so jealous of that because we didn't make it to the top that day. I'm like, we're going back with gummies, mooses, and we're hitting that trail first trail we hit because I'm not going back there and not making it to the top.
Yeah, that's a fun one for sure.
Cool. Where is it from friends, or how do you guys find these spots? Right? I mean, until Logan had said, is there a certain place you go to get in your information to go find these places, Jeremy, or is it just from talking to people?
Amy does a lot of looking for stuff like that, and she ends up stumbling on it on Instagram, I think, and then she reaches out to different girl riders or different riders, and I don't know. We just kind of stumble onto it, I guess.
Right.
That the place in Idaho, they actually have a hotel. It's an old snowmobile lodge that they converted into like a dirt bike lodge. And that the first year we stayed at that place, and it was so cool. Everyone that worked there was a dirt bike rider. From the chef to the bartender to the guy that cleaned the rooms, everyone was into dirt bikes. Everyone staying there had dirt bikes. It wasn't like that. That's why you're there. There was no guy with a side by side or at a golf tournament. It was 100% dirt bike people. So it was a super cool experience. That was our Idaho trip, and then. Moab, of course, everyone knows about that. I think it's a little more known for side-by-side stuff, but there's some phenomenal dirt biking there too.
Yeah, I think that was one of the coolest parts for all of us, like walking in there into that bar that they have. And it's like they have hard enduro on the TV. You can tell, like as you said, like the bartender they ride, like everyone was just talking dirt bikes. Like it was like a mini bar just about dirt bikes. And I feel like, definitely never seen that before. So that was kind of eye-opening, at least for me, going there and just seeing all that was pretty cool.
Is this called Valhalla? I mean, this sounds like where you go when you die. I mean, that's like sign me up. Like that's where I want to go.
It's still open. What was it? Gold Creek Lodge, right?
Gold Creek Lodge, yeah. They do rentals,
big
big shops, or I think it's kind of exploded too, even since we went, and I think it was 22. It seems like they're just getting busier and busier and doing a really good job with it all too.
I think they had a full-time mechanic even on there. So if you have problems or whatever, I think they're kind of pushing more to like you just show up and you rent the bike and the whole work is kind of the direction I think they're going. But it was neat.
It's pretty cool. They saved Luke's day because he filled up his cases with a good mixture of water and oil that resembled chocolate milk. So they had an oil change kit for him at the shop when we made it back there.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Probably not their first time doing that either, Luke, I'm guessing, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah, probably not.
A guy's like, oh, the old crick swallowed up another one. Were you right here? You probably knew pinpoint exactly where it happened, right?
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because none of us had experience with flooding a bike like that. But the day before that we rode there, we stumbled upon a creek crossing, and I think it was two guys and a girl, and one of them dumped their bike in the water. So we got to watch them try to get that bike started. So they put it in gear, tip it backwards, crank it over, take the air filter out, and wring it out. So we watched them do all this, and then who knew the next day Luke was going to dump it? So we knew exactly what to do.
That's awesome.
Dumb luck.
Also, Jeremy had mentioned Moab. So do you guys enjoy riding there as well?
Yeah, Moab's super cool. The first time we went, I thought it was more going to be like side-by-sides and Jeeps.
Yep.
But I just wanted to see the place. And yeah, there's phenomenal riding out there. We've been back a handful of times.
Okay.
The first time I went, I thought we'd go one time and just, check it off the list of things I wanted to see in life. But we're actually going again in about 2 weeks. We're going to run out there.
Cool.
Usually I like to go during the winter, but some friends wanted to go this time of the year.
Okay.
So we're gonna do one more out there, and
that's what I was gonna ask. Is it probably gets hot in the summer there, right? I mean,
yeah. I don't think it'd be any fun in June, July. It's super hot, and I think that's kind of the heart of the season. So it's a lot busier then.
Okay.
I actually like to go in about December, which is it's usually a little colder. It's in the mornings a little cold, but there's no one there. Like you have, the hotels are easy; they're all open, and then it's being from North Dakota, if you came from California, it probably wouldn't be that much fun. But when it's 40 below and you go there and it's 50 degrees in the morning, it still feels pretty good.
Great. You have that North Dakota weather system. I'm going to mess it up by the cool old farmer that we rent from and we hunt out there. He always says, oh, what a beautiful day. Whenever the temperature's over the wind, it's a banner day in North Dakota. I think that's how it goes. So
that sounds right. Yeah,
if it's only, if it's 12 degrees, but a 9 mile an hour wind, it's a banner day in North Dakota. And I was like, yeah, that is a good way to look at it.
That is a good way to look at it, for sure.
Does it snow there in the Moab? Like when you're there in December, is there snow on the ground? Or?
No, I shouldn't say that. We had one time we were going to ride a trail and we came over this mountain pass and got there and the ground was white.
Okay.
So then we ended up not riding it that day.
Okay.
But that was the most I ever. And then, of course, probably within an hour it was gone.
Okay.
It warms up during the day.
Typical desert where it's cold at night and warm in the day type of situation, right? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a big gradient, all that rock. As soon as it warms up, that rock all starts to kind of build some heat in it. And so I don't know if we got lucky, but every time we've been there, it's been warm enough to ride in December.
How far is that from where you're at in Bismarck then?
For us, it's about 16 hours, I think.
Okay. Yep.
Maybe between 14 and 16.
Okay. And damn, like Utah, there's everything you could ever ask in Utah, right? Because Moab's in Utah, right? That's I'm not mistaken there. I told my wife, if we're ever afforded a month in our life where we can just be gone, I just want to take the camper and I just want to bounce around frickin' Utah. I mean, we've got friends, Whitlocks that live there, and I was like, it's like a frickin' cheat code. Their life, every weekend they could do whatever they want. They can go elk hunting, they can go, snow biking, they can ride dirt bike, they can go to the desert. It's like, dear God, it's like you got everything in Utah. It's crazy.
Utah is cool. St. George, Utah is phenomenal too. St. George is I'm not sure. A buddy of mine was telling me he liked St. George better than Moab, and I thought he was nuts. And then we went back to St. George, and now I think he's right to say I think I have more. St. George might even be better than Moab.
I'm not familiar. Is that a park or is that a town or is St. George?
St. George is a town, so they're riding in that area.
Okay.
It's St. George, and then they pronounce it Hurricane. It's spelled hurricane, but they pronounce them two is kind of where it's all right in that area.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I think there's 5 national parks or 4 national parks in Utah, and there's just a crazy amount of public land there. In Wisconsin, North Dakota you have a little bit more. But in Wisconsin here, we have almost zero public land. I mean, you get up north and there is the woods or whatnot. but nothing like out west where you can just go camping and riding and use it like it's your own. That doesn't exist here in Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I got to go to Gold Creek Lodge, I got to go to Moab, and I got to go to St. George before I die. So now you've just added 3 to the list, Jeremy. I like it.
Yeah, that'd be a good 3.
I think I'm gonna start with this Gold Creek Lodge because just to go into a bar and see dirt bikes on the TV and maybe be able to talk smart with the bartender. Sign me up right there.
Yeah, that one for just a package vacation is really hard to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I'll show up at a bar or something and everyone wants to talk about football and I have no clue what they're talking about. And if you showed up at Gold Creek and started talking football, they'll look at you like, "Why are you here?" I'd been in the group. It's kind of the total opposite of what you normally run into.
I like it. It was cool, like talking with Logan too, and in Idaho there. You were saying, Logan, like the trails, it was like you could take a horse, a motorcycle, whatever the hell you wanted to drive down the trail, you could just do it.
Yeah, like these trailhead signs that are all over for some of the main trails, there's like signs of what is allowed and what's not allowed. And it'd be, horse, hiking, motorcycles. It's like you don't see that anywhere in the country where you can just show up to like a trailhead. And if you want to ride your dirt bike here, as long as you bought like the Idaho sticker or pass or whatever, you're good to go. I'm like, it seems crazy. Like we did one hike down to a lake a little bit north of, what town is it? North of Coeur d'Alene, kind of on the opposite side of the lake of where Gold Creek is. And we're just doing a hike and it's like literally at any minute, a bike could just come and ride here and it's perfectly legal and you wouldn't really think anything of it, but it seems so foreign to what we're used to out here.
Doesn't it just make sense that if you're walking on a trail and you hear a bike coming, you just step off the trail and let them go by? I mean, isn't that what common sense should be, right?
Yeah. I probably
the terrain is just something you'd never see too. The canopies of trees are so thick that there's just all this weird moss looking. It just looks magical. We seen a moose ripping through there one day.
Nice.
It was really neat.
Mm-hmm. This is okay. Any snakes? I'm terrified of snakes, Jeremy. Please tell me you've never seen a snake up there.
I don't recall seeing any.
All right. What about Moab? Safe. Moab, that's probably a little sketchier there, huh?
Honestly, I don't ever remember seeing a snake there.
All right. They're still on my list then because I'm terrified of snakes.
Yeah. Montana, too, is a good place. There's a lot of good riding in Montana, too, if you're looking for spots.
And we rode in Billings at the Billings Motorcycle Club there a lot, and the camping riding culture is alive there and well. And is it Grindstone that people go camping or Pipestone and it's just like, dang it, like another culture that we're 16 hours from. That people just
friends that live right by Pipestone, so we go to Pipestone quite a bit too.
Cool, and that's just public ground, right? All that Pipestone area.
Yep.
Oh man. Oh, dang it. What are we doing here, Cipalas? Why do we live here?
I don't know, man.
Luke, why don't you get famous and buy one of these places so we can just come visit?
That's what we need.
Yeah, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, we're missing out big. One thing I wanted to talk to, now we were riding a few weeks back, and I just wanted the opinion of a man that's been in the motorcycle industry for his entire life. But I just feel like there's a niche in a market here. And for people, vet riders like me, that just that can't go fast, but want to look fast. But do you think, Jeremy, that there's a market where somebody just makes like the ultimate drippy, just A-kit, standard, everything, awesome 300 or 450, and it's like 25 grand? I mean, do you think that there's a market where if a manufacturer really decked out a very coveted bike that it would sell?
I do think that, I think it would be, it wouldn't be massive numbers, but
right.
the bike that we were talking about, that factory bike, I think they're just under 15 grand. And then I added the fancier rear shock and some more stuff. I did, had the ECU reflashed and a different head. And I've got, there's a market for it. Older guys that don't need it anymore, but kind of got to the point in their life where they can afford it. I don't, we've sold, I think we sold 6 of them, and I've got 3 more guys looking for them.
Yep.
So I think we could do 10 of these at, 15 plus.
Right.
I think it's Polaris. My kid showed me Polaris has a side-by-side that's kind of a one-off like that for about 150 grand. So
I think I saw that.
$20,000 or $25,000 dirt bike. It depends on the numbers. It ain't going to be this big, but I think there'd be a market for it. It would have to be, kind of a smaller number, but snowmobiles, snowmobiles are 25 grand. And there's a bunch of them, and there's, for every one snowmobile buyer, there must be about 50 dirt bike buyers. So yeah, I think if one of the big manufacturers made it like legit, everything the best.
It's got to be limited, and everybody has to know just by a glance what it is. That's the key,
Yeah.
They do that with like in the mountain bike market too. I've seen you can go the bicycle market just in general, but I've been looking at them a little bit here and there, and you can buy a mountain bike for way more than what you can buy a top of the line dirt bike. It's not that hard to spend 15 to 20, 25 grand on a mountain bike with full suspension. It's like, man, that would be, I always dream. I prefer road cycling a little bit more. I've gone to a few bike shops and you see like the full carbon super trick, like $20,000 road bikes. And it's like, it would be so fun to just try to pedal one once and see how epic they are, but
from personal experience, like when you go into those bike shops, like I kind of get a little irritated because it's like they try to sell you like on every effing weld and all this crap. Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting here looking at them like, there's no damn motor. It's a bicycle. I don't care how good the weld is. How many horsepower does it have? I still have to pedal the damn thing. I mean, I guess if you're an e-bike or whatever, but it's like the freaking triathlon bicycle for $19,000. And it's like, what? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's a bicycle. It's like, oh my God, highway robbery. It's nuts.
But there's some guy who that's his dream bike and he's got the money to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should have the full throttle edition, Jeremy, where you do it. It's just like you're that specialty shop. You number them. Maybe you only do 25 a year or whatever. Nope. And it's like when that, every vet rider, that sucker's not going in the enclosed trailer. They're putting it in the back of their truck. So when they pull in, everybody knows they got the full throttle edition, number 7, out of 25. And there's no question. I don't know. You got to do something just completely unique that would, because there's just, a $25,000 dirt bike. It sounds insane, but like we were just saying, that's like not even a crazy price for a bicycle, right? Yeah. So it's like if you could pimp out some special edition full throttle, only 25 made, it would be pretty awesome. I gotta think there's a market there.
Yeah, I agree. I think there would be a market. There's no difference when you put it relative to other things, snowmobiles or side by sides. It sounds insane when I think my first dirt bike was $75. Mm-hmm. Right. An RM85 or 80 was $350, I think. So them numbers, it seems mind blowing. But when you compare today's numbers with $25,000 snowmobiles and side by sides pushing 100 grand, it wouldn't be out of that realm.
So what you can do is build the first one and then guilt Joel into buying it right off the bat. This is your idea. All you'd have to do is put a 31 on there and Falde on the front number plate, and he'd be on his way to pick it up.
Yeah, I'd be trying to explain to my wife how this was essential for our family for us to own this. Just like every other vet rider, if I don't have the good suspension, I could get hurt. I have to have this.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, for sure. It's like when we were listening to Pulp and they were trying to pitch to Mitch Payton at Pro Circuit that they needed to pitch that, he could port the cylinder, right? And then you get a tag on there. So maybe like you tap your Kawasaki resources and you have like Mitch Payton like do the heads on these bikes. And that's like
Sure.
one of the things is like every one of your 25 Full Throttle Edition bikes have had their head done by Mitch Payton himself and have him sign them or something like that. You know, it's like, oh man, that's a good idea, isn't it, Logan?
I want to disagree, but I just can't.
They would sell
I don't
it.
want to give you the credit.
If you could get Mitch to do all the heads on these bikes, Jeremy, boom, right there. That's like $7,000 in value right there, right? Oh man, this is an idea podcast, Jeremy. I'm telling you.
I like it.
Now I'm on the hook for the $30,000 prototype too. Thanks,
Yep,
Logan.
yep.
That's right.
So you're 21 years into owning Full Throttle or something. Am I wrong with that, Jeremy, or close?
Oh, you're right. So December 03 was when I started. So, yeah.
So, I mean, wow, what a run. I mean, the future for are you planning on staying where you are? Are you happy with your location and all that you have right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I like the location. I kind of added on to quite a bit. Like I said, when I started, I was renting half the building. Then I purchased the building, and I bought the building behind me, bought the building beside me. So, yeah, it works good. We've got enough room finally, and
I couldn't get my mouth off the ground when we were walking through there. I mean, It was impressive when you took us through your back sheds. And then you're like, oh, hey, Logan, you ever rode a Stark? And then he hopped on that Stark and blew his hat off in the parking lot running down the street. I was like, dang, this is a candy store right here. They got everything you need. It was a good time.
The warehouse tour was worth the price of admission.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. No, it was awesome. How have you're a Stark Varg dealer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How has that been going for you?
It's been going good. Them things they're phenomenal. I mean, if you ever thought you rode something fast, you probably haven't until you rode a Stark. I mean, they're
100%.
I've got a buddy that used to stunt ride like leader bikes, like GSXR 1000s. He said he rode a supercharged Hayabusa, and the acceleration, it's hard to describe. I've just being in the industry, I've rode sport bikes. We got Kawasaki has an H2 that's 200 plus horse, and that Stark in 0 to 60, I think it'll smoke it all. It's just it's incredible, the acceleration. There's no gears, you just twist it,
right?
And if you can keep the front end from flipping over, they accelerate like nothing I've ever ridden before.
I tell everybody from the test ride that you let me, that's still the only time I've ridden one. And like the things are terrifying because you sit on it and it feels like it should be a toy or a remote control or something like that. And I give it gas and I'm like, holy shit, this thing's a real deal. And then I got it out on the road and got after it a little bit. I'm like, I was terrified of them. Like, I don't even want to ride one on a track unless I've got like a half hour to figure out and get used to the power and start at like 20 horsepower, because it was like you said, I've never felt acceleration like that thing did or like that one had. It's pretty unbelievable.
Wow. They're 80 horse. We took one to Amy's brother, Mitch Dahl. He's killer Hillclimb guy. He's just naturally talented on any dirt bike. Anyway, we took one to Walhalla, and I thought if any, that Walhalla hill, there's no such thing as too much power for that hill. You pointed up the hill and cranked, and he actually had to turn the power down because just the rear wheel kept blowing out.
Yeah.
It was probably going 60, 70 miles an hour, and the rear wheel would break loose. So we actually had to crank the power down for it to work right on that hill.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool watching that day because he was struggling pretty bad in the first few brackets, and then all of a sudden he just like pulled it together and was killing it. And then I found out later when we were talking that you turned the power down a little bit and it made it a little bit more manageable. It's like,
well, we literally pulled into his farmyard and pulled the thing out, and he jumped on it and rode it in a circle and put it back in the trailer. So he had like 13 seconds. So
it kind of pisses me off that's all he rode it, and that's how good he did.
I think he won the Verticross with.
Yeah, he did.
You blew your ankle out, didn't you?
Yeah,
same weekend. And,
yep.
So he was his practices were literally running that thing up the hill.
Wow.
And figured out to get the power down a little bit, and and I got the overall on that thing. So
Yeah,
anyway,
killed it.
they're pretty phenomenal piece of equipment for sure.
Has there been a thing that they've been in the shop to touch up? Because what's the maintenance on them? I mean, there's no freaking maintenance, is there?
They've been really good, and that's one of the beauties of them. There's no oil to change. I think that there's like a gearbox oil, but I think it's like 100 hours before you have to change it. There's we put a fork seal in one, I think, and we've done a few things on them, but relatively speaking, they've been really good. They've been really trouble free.
Never had anything against them. I mean, there's kind of a polarizing topic, obviously, for a lot of people. But I remember at the big Hill Jam years ago, we were out at the Hill Brothers in Oregon, and Josh had an Alta. And that thing, like, I saw the beauty of it. Is it just leaning up against a tree? He just hops on, it takes off, and it's like there's never any. You just got to charge it. That's all you got to do. Yeah. And he was just saying, like, it just was so easy to just. That's like the cow chaser. You just go out and hop on it, and you never have to worry about the air filter, anything. If it's got a charge, you just take off and ride. And it's like, man, I really saw the beauty of just like how fun it would be just to have that as just your beat around bike to ride on. And then with the Stark, I mean, that just is that much more improved of a design than that. I think that Ultimate was maybe a little ahead of its time when they came out, and people just weren't ready for it because. I mean, Josh loved that bike. He said that was a fun bike to ride too. So it's kind of interesting, the option. And, like I look at I have two little girls and they got the little Stasic bikes. And it's like these electric bikes, whether you like it or not, there's a whole generation growing up on electric. It's going to be a huge thing, like good on you to be part of Stark right now. Cause you got a whole generation of people that are going to be riding them,
For kids, they are the ultimate for the kids ones.
Yeah.
These KTMs we sold a bunch, but there's always a bunch of maintenance with the two stroke. The clutches are a little maintenance and stuff. And them electric ones they're awesome. The dad or mom, if mom wants to take the kids to the track, she can literally throw that in the back of the SUV. Upside down, laid on its side. It don't matter. And, just throw it in there, and there's no gas, no oil that's going to spill and make a mess.
Right.
Nothing to do to them. They're really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just tonight I bought my girls. I don't push it on them. I just want them to ride. But if they don't, no big deal or whatever. But they got their little Stasics. But I got a little Honda 50. And whenever we go bomb around the yard, Lucille, my oldest, is on her little Stasic, and me and the other one are on my little 50 riding around, and they just want nothing to do with that little 50. They all want to ride the electric ones, but then I don't mind it because when they tip over, there's nothing hot. You can't even touch the chain on them. It's like as long as they don't get scun up on the gravel or whatnot, it's like they're back on it going. And I mean, what an awesome way to introduce kids that are a little intimidated, or there's just all these different versions now for little kids. We were at the Prebes riding last weekend, and they got Stasic bikes. There was a little gas, the E50 or whatever. Then they still had the little gas 50s. It's like kids nowadays are so lucky. It's like, dang, they got everything, right? It's cool.
Yeah. How old are your girls?
They're 5 and 8, so they're real little. So
sure.
Yeah.
You have to look at an E2. KTM all three brands. They make KTM Husky gas. They make one called an E2.
Yep.
It'd be the next step from that stage. We've been selling a bunch. They're awesome.
Is that the one where it's a slide out battery? Is it? I think I heard like it's like the chainsaw battery or something like that you can buy for it, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yep. One of the drive-bys through Bismarck, I might be having one of those sitting outside the door, and I'll just stop by and throw it in the trailer. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, they are. They're super cool.
So I know Harris has been obviously riding that Stark a lot. Has he been able to race it at all anywhere? Like in your guys' area, do they allow him?
Yeah, he raced it in the NDMA one. I think just once, just try it.
Yeah, cool.
That you can run them in. I think he must run in the open class, but I think they'll let you run in the 450 class too in our circuit.
Nice.
Cool. Every area has a little different rule on them things, what they allow and don't allow.
Yeah.
The Harescramble. I let a buddy of mine ride it at one of our hair. Well, Harris actually rode it in the team race at one of the Harescrambles.
Okay.
Harescrambles get a little trickier because the battery life. You ain't going to make 2 hours. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's guys that will make it 2 hours. But if you're ripping on it, it won't make it 2 hours.
Harris won't make it 2 hours.
Yeah,
I'm sure of that.
But for your average guy, can go an hour pretty easily.
Cool.
But but buddy of mine raced it in an hour class and made it.
Okay, nice.
In Harescramble.
Yeah.
I got a couple more questions on like the dealership side of things. So I feel like there's like a lot of people that look at a job as, owning a dealership is pretty sweet. It's like the dream job. But what's something that you think a lot of people don't really understand about what it takes, or all the things that, that go into the day-to-day of owning and operating a dealership?
It's a lot more work than it looks like. People come in, if I'm standing in a showroom, they think that's my job, is I just stand in that showroom and wait for the next guy to come in and visit my dirt bikes. And that is part of it, sitting in a showroom and visiting with people. But there's a lot of behind the scenes that people have no idea. And the time, people watch Instagram, Facebook, and they'll see Amy posts on different trips. And so they think that's all I do is drive from one vacation to the next. They don't realize that there's a lot of Saturdays and late nights, and not as much anymore. Now I've got a fair amount of employees and stuff but back in the day when it was a 2-man show, getting that thing running, there was a lot of, work until 2 a.m. and then, starting it all over the next day. And there's just a lot more work, a lot more knowing things. There's warranty claims, and there's a lot of behind the scenes work that, marketing and advertising and title work and, parts ordering, parts returns. There's just a lot more moving parts than people imagine. You
mentioned COVID earlier, but could you kind of talk about how, like, what was your philosophy through that time period? Because I feel like right away it like saved and helped a lot of dealerships, and then kind of on the back end, like, seemed like inventory started to stack up and it almost started doing the opposite. So what was your kind of philosophy to keep the business going through that time period?
Yeah, I think COVID affected a lot of businesses super negative. And there was some negative aspects of it, but there was, getting parts was a nightmare. People would order a part and be back ordered for not weeks, it was months sometimes, and so people would be super frustrated. Don't blame them, right? You want to ride your bike, and some of it was new bikes. It'd be a pretty new bike, and all of a sudden they needed a bearing or something that they couldn't ride it without that part, and it'd be back ordered for 3 months, and it looked like should be coming, and then they extended. It'd be another 2 months.
Man,
that was super frustrating. People were rightfully so extremely upset.
Right.
So that was always a challenge. The good short term of it is it really made it easy to sell stuff, because there was kind of a shortage of product. So, if people won't even ask the price. If you had one, they'll be like, I'm on my way. I'll just hold it.
That's all right.
I'll come get it. So that made selling your inventory a lot easier, and probably making a little better margins than you typically would. Right. It was just some frustrations, but overall it was okay, I guess.
I remember seeing a lot, just because I was obviously looking for it more too, but it was COVID was like right after you started helping me out and got me my first bike. And then, man, it was like all the time you were posting on the Facebook about how this guy came in and got this 4-wheeler, and then, what felt like 10 minutes later, just sold a bike to so-and-so. And then it was a side-by-side to this guy. I was like, holy smokes, he is moving some equipment throughout a few months there. But on the flip side.
Yeah, that's maybe when it just got to be too much. We used to do that a lot. Every time that someone would buy something, we'd do a little social media post. Yeah. And it was getting hard to keep up with all that. And then you'd be super busy and forget to post one guy's post, and then you'd be feelings would get hurt or whatever. So we kind of just stepped away from doing that. We should start doing some of that again. It's kind of cool, and people get a kick out of it, but it's hard it's hard to pick this guy, and people don't realize you just had time of the day to make that post.
Right.
And we sell something to someone else, and that guy too or gal was a great person and would love to do a little post on them. But again, it kind of come back to time management, and sometimes it wouldn't get done. And then we felt like, well, if we ain't doing it for everyone, maybe we shouldn't be doing it for anyone. But
right.
And I mean, I remember even our struggles with trying to get and continue racing throughout that time with parts for a little while. Holy smokes, it was a nightmare. My grandpa's a WPS dealer, so 90% of my parts would be, buying through him or some of my sponsors. Like I remember Micah Metals, I was down to buying different bar bends because I had bent all of the ones I had. They couldn't get any new ones in. I'm like, at one point, I'm just like, any website I can go on that has this part in stock. I didn't even care what the price was. I'm like, I need it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
How hard it was to find some of this stuff is just painful. I'm like, like you said, I don't care what the price is, just find one that's in stock and get it here so I can continue riding, or so can I get to this race or whatever it was.
Well, dang, boys, I'm telling you, this has been a lot of fun. Jeremy, I just looking up, and your tag on Instagram is Full Throttle Motorsports _ND on Instagram, and hit them up, follow them. I just really wanted to thank you again. We've talked about it, but for supporting our little sport in Hillclimb, being associated with the Jelnicks. They're just the salt of the earth, the best people. Absolutely love them. They're a big part of Eagle Ridge. I see your name for Walhalla and Fordville, and then now the Dakota Scramble Series. Right away, first thing I saw was the Full Throttle logo on there. It really means a lot to the riders that you help these series and these events go. And man, I mean, like, that's why Logan and I are driving 7 hours. I mean, even Todd, you got Todd driving 7 hours from Ellsworth. I mean, Todd's the guy where he goes to Red Wing for fuel because it's cheaper, right? But he's driving 7 hours to buy a bike from you. It's because you're a man that supports the business that has supported you, and it really means a lot to us riders and people a part of it. And it's so easy to buy something from you. And you're a Cowie dealer, KTM, Husqvarna, Gas, Beta, Stark, and obviously anybody interested, please talk to Jeremy, call him. But it really means a lot. And it's been just really a good time getting to know you and how you started. I love that the Ditch Banger starts out with a $75 bike. And here you've been plus 20 years making people's dreams come true, Jeremy. It's really awesome, man.
Well, thanks. That's awful nice of you.
And now he's got the factory edition with A kit.
Woo!
Yeah,
it just keeps getting better.
Let's go. That's awesome. And you caused Luke to shave his mustache. I mean, you got to move to North Dakota, Luke. There's something in the water out there. I'm telling you.
I'm going to be gone for the next episode. So
what we have to do. What we have to do is try to get Petey to the brick mine, and then we can have a mustache contest between Jeremy, Mitch, and Petey.
Wow. Yeah, there ain't going to be any women left. So they're going to be 3 counties around. It's going to look out.
Yeah.
I have to watch my wife. Dang it. Well, man, I feel like we could go on for days, Jeremy, but is there anything that we missed or anything that you wanted to talk about? Or?
No, I think we got through everything I had in my mind, I guess, for the show.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, once again, Luke had the best questions, as always.
I don't know about that.
All right, boys. Well, let's get out there on the trails. I got to get to this lodge. That's all. My life's not complete until I find it. Let's go.
Yeah, you guys pick a date. If you want a tour guide, I'll tag along and.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, it'd be a good time.
That'd be awesome.
FTL field trip already. I'm in.
Yeah.
I like where this is headed.
Yep.
The three of you pick a date and let me know what the date is. I'll do my best to try to tag along.
I like it.
That could be epic.
Logan will have to set the date because he's probably got 4 hours he's not racing this summer, Jeremy. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of here.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Come on, my mama told me one day I'ma grow up big and I'ma be a king, and my papa told me It's okay to sit where shit hurts. Don't forget your dreams, cause they'll get you through this.